Phryne, most beautiful woman ever. Way back in ancient Greece, in early to mid-300 BC, there lived a courtesan named Phryne. She was known to be incredibly beautiful. Like several people have written about how stunning she was, she is supposed to have inspired several paintings and statues of Aphrodite, including this one, but she is best known for her trial. We don't know for certain what exactly she was charged with, but it was apparently something along the lines of blasphemy or impiety. Whatever it was, the important fact is that if she was found guilty, Phryne would be executed. She was defended by one of her lovers, an orator named Hyperides, who came up with a defense that can only be described as genius. The prosecution gave their speech, apparently a very good one, and it became clear that things were not looking good for Phryne. Hyperides called Phryne up and had her stand in front of the judges before pulling her robes off and saying something to the effect of, "Well, I hope you're willing to kill this." You see, people who were incredibly beautiful were supposed to have been blessed by the gods, so Hyperides was essentially asking a group of very religious men whether they wanted to kill someone for blasphemy who had clearly been so blessed by the gods. And it worked. Phryne was acquitted and seemed to live a pretty long life. Genghis Khan's granddaughter. One of Genghis Khan's descendants wouldn't marry a man unless he could beat her in a wrestling match. This famous Mongolian princess's name was Kutulun. She was born in the 1260s and had 14 brothers. Surprisingly, she was favored out of all the children. The reason for this was because of her military skill. With so many brothers, you can imagine how much testosterone was in the house that made her so good at combat. She was considered one of the best female warriors at the time. When she got older, just like Disney's Merida, she claimed that she would only marry her suitor if he bested her. But unlike Merida, she wanted to wrestle, not shoot bows and arrow. If he won, he would get to marry her. If she won, she would get a horse. Kutulun was undefeated despite her physical disadvantage. She did eventually get married since that was the norm, but she didn't wrestle him because she didn't want him to lose. Margaret Hamilton. Hamilton took humanity to the moon, and she invented the term software engineering. In 1969, the Apollo 11 landed safely on the moon because of the onboard flight software that Margaret wrote. On November 22, 2016, Hamilton received the Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Barack Obama for her work leading to the development of onboard flight software for NASA's Apollo moon missions. Indian Princess and Spy. On September 13, 1944, a princess from India lay dead at Dachau concentration camp. She had been tortured by the Nazis and then shot in the head. Her name was Noor Inayat Khan. The Germans knew her only as Nora Baker, a British spy who had gone into occupied France using the code name Madeleine. She carried her transmitter from safe house to safe house with the Gestapo trailing her, providing communications for her resistance unit. Wireless operators in France had a life expectancy of 6 weeks. Noor was actively transmitting for over 3 times as long. She was offered a way back to Britain. She refused and said that she was having the time of her life and thanked them for giving her the opportunity to do this. She was captured by the Gestapo, but never gave up. She made 3 attempts at escape. One involved asking to take a bath, insisting on being allowed to close the door to preserve her modesty, and then clambering onto the roof of the Gestapo HQ in Paris. Her last word before being shot was Liberté. Another hero from India. Neerja Bhanot was an Indian flight purser. On 5th of September 1986, she saved a large number of passengers on board Pan Am Flight 73, which had been hijacked by 4 Palestinian terrorists from the Abu Nidal organization after it made a stopover at Jinnah International Airport in Pakistan. Around 17 hours into the standoff, after she opened an emergency exit door and began helping passengers escape from the plane, Neerja was shot and killed by the hijackers. Shortly afterwards, Pakistan's Special Service Group stormed the aircraft and captured all of the hijackers. During the hijacking, she covertly alerted the cockpit crew to abandon the aircraft, helping them escape through an emergency exit. Miss Panot's courage was not confined to professional duties. She also showed immense compassion by shielding 3 children from gunfire, ultimately sacrificing her life to protect them. She was shot dead 2 days before her 23rd birthday.